Kia ora, good evening. 2 British tourists were lucky to survive this morning after failing to take a bend on the notorious Devil's Staircase between Kingston and Queenstown. The driver lost control of the vehicle, crashing into a roadside barrier, plunging 30 metres into the Wye Creek early this morning. The cause of the crash is unknown. State Highway 6 was closed for several hours while a helicopter and crew retrieved the 24-year-old driver from the ravine. The man was unable to escape due to leg and possible internal injuries, while the 22-year-old passenger was able to make it back to the road and seek help from a passing motorist. The men were both wearing safety belts, which police say undoubtedly prevented further injuries. Police have released the names of the 3 people who are believed to be aboard missing yacht Minitra, which has been unheard from since departing Bluff Harbour bound for Preservation Inlet on the 16th of April.
All 3 are German citizens. Leah Tiertz, aged 19, and her travelling companion Veronica Stiudlia, also 19, are from Görlitz district in Germany and were in the country travelling in their gap year. The skipper of the vessel has been identified as 33-year-old Andre Kintzler, who has been a resident in New Zealand for 4 years and has been working on a central Southland dairy farm. It's believed Mr Kintzler purchased the vessel within the past 12 months and that his sailing experience is thought to be limited. It's understood there was little safety equipment on board. Mr Kintzler was relying on a handheld radio with a limited range as his sole means of communication with the mainland.
The day that they left, there was 3 days of quite bad weather. And the vessel was only 7.7 metres, and from what we understand, only limited safety equipment on it. So unfortunately, it doesn't look very positive.
The families of Ms Tiertz and Ms Stiudlia have been informed of the situation. However, authorities are yet to establish contact with Mr Kintzler's next of kin. The search for the 7.5 metre Minitra was scaled back on Monday. The operation is now that of a limited continuous search phase. Hunter Andrews, South Today News.
Stadium Southland officially opens next week after a 3.5-year rebuild. The $43 million project has had only minor issues since it reopened last month, including an unexpected spend of $30,000 on handrail support for the Tim Shadbolt stand. But General Manager Nigel Scout says one of the big wins is the flooring on the community courts.
Yeah, we made a big call there on the community courts, putting the wooden surfaces in as opposed to what we had previously. But look, we've got a lot more individuals coming back playing. Netball and basketball, much easier on the landing for our older players as well. So it's got a big tick of approval from the community. So really pleased with that decision.
A few unexpected costs that have popped up through the 3.5-year process. Nigel, can you explain to us where we're at financially with this?
Well, that's the $43 million question, Margot, to be fair. Look, there have been lots of add-ons, to be without question. And but basically as a result of the earthquake, as we've talked about many times, change in the building codes and the strengthening of the building. So it has been difficult. We haven't got a final figure yet. Still waiting on some communication and a couple of meetings with the insurance company just to finalise what their payment will be, and then we'll be able to ascertain what the final missing part is in the sense of the payout as to what the total build cost is.
Is it fair to say the shortfall could be anywhere between 4 and 6 million?
I absolutely be around that mark without doubt. As I say, we can't define that at this present point in time, but certainly a substantial shortfall.
Any indication about where that funding might come from?
No, not at this point. That's a challenge for us all. But look, we've had fantastic support from the community to date, and I know we're working in the background with all our community funders, and we are going to do the public appeal situation. We've talked about that many times as well. So opportunity for the wider Southland public and the business firms to come along and support what is a world-class facility.
So what other events do you have coming up that are going to help with the sustainability of this?
An array of events really, from boat shows right through to Side Dairy Conference. We're working with a couple of international promoters on some different sort of types of entertainment to bring to Invercargill. Pretty confident we'll be able to pull those off, but look, a wide array of events, craft shows and so on and so forth. So 70 odd events from here until Christmas, so almost back to where we were come 2010. Where we had, I think, around about 85 events in that year before we had the snowstorm.
So you're still not back up to full staff, you are still running a little lean. What are the chances of breaking even in the next couple of years?
Look, we won't break even in this coming first financial year, obviously. We are short on staff, no question, so we're starting to build the staffing numbers back up as the events come on, and I would expect come 2015-16 that our financial result will be getting pretty near that even point.
Also another big event next week, the official opening.
Yeah, May the 9th, really looking forward to that. It's been a long time coming, Margot, to be fair. But look, I think it's a celebration for the whole of Southland, really. They've got back their community centre, particularly the young people, really excited about that. The rock climbing, Clip and Climb Wall has been a huge success to date. It's great to see our young people back home again, the basketball, the netball, the tennis, all those sorts of things happening on a daily basis. And it's just great to have the numbers back in. So really looking forward to May the 9th.
Wayne Evans has been appointed to the role of Chief Executive, replacing Ross Smith, who's retiring on the 31st of July after 22 years in the role. The 47-year-old attended Southland Boys High before going on to complete both a Bachelor of Commerce and a postgraduate diploma in psychology. Mr Evans has held senior banking and finance industry roles in Wellington and Auckland before returning to Invercargill to establish Finance Now Limited, the $120 million consumer finance subsidiary of SBS Bank. SBS Chairman John Ward says that in a highly contested process, Mr Evans impressed with his wide-ranging industry experience, strategic insight and leadership capability. Mr Evans will assume the role of Chief Executive of SBS Bank on the 1st of August. Stay with us. Still to come, a funding coup for a local iwi organisation and Vietnamese students revel in Invercargill's education opportunities. Welcome back. A local iwi-led body has been selected as the only Māori and South Island organisation to receive funding to develop an early intervention program for 12 to 16-year-olds in Invercargill. Whānau will set short, mid and long-term goals with youth to experience cognitive behavioural therapy. The pilot program aims to reach students before suspension, truancy or offending happens and is expected to be up and running in June.
It's about not only the students, it's about supporting the whānau too, and supporting the parents and to learn strategies of how to engage effectively with community, with organisations. So it's not only the youth that we're targeting, we're also targeting the whole family.
It is being done under a Māori framework, although
Yes.
It's not just for Māori.
Yes, that's correct. The Māori framework is about values and goals, or values and aspirations, and that can undertake any culture in anybody. So it's looking at supporting, recognising and respecting, especially the youth, even though it's targeting as it is youth offending. Underneath it, I have a great belief that underneath everybody there's a really good person in there, and so I think that if we can get underneath there, then that'll make a difference for them and give them a chance and see the world in a different way than maybe what they're used to or how they engage. That's the idea of it.
One of the tangible examples that you're looking at is the youth-owned resource plans. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
We developed the Youth-Owned Resource Plan specifically for this, and we quite like the acronym. It was Your Plan. So the idea of it is that, for example, if a student is referred to us, or parents can approach us and their child has been stood down or their child is going to family group conference, then we'll have somebody up here, a navigator, who will meet with them, and they will meet with the organisation and identify what are the areas or why are the reasons that this student or this child is going to court or being stood down. And once we get all the behaviour reasons of why, then we'll work with that youth and that student and the parents and identify what those behaviours that need to be changed so that they can engage more effectively or get back to school or reduce the offending. And we'll look at the short term, middle term and long term so that they can see that some things are achievable and that they can achieve that. Because some of the standouts might be just that, what we see is verbal abuse to teachers, etc. So we'll look at ways that they can change that behaviour. And that's what the cognitive behavioural therapy is about. It's about changing the behaviour, identifying that. So when those triggers pop up again later in their life or later, and then they can come back and assess it and identify, this is the way I dealt with it, this is the way I handled it. It doesn't have to have a negative outcome.
A proposal by the Labour Party that would see the Reserve Bank using KiwiSaver savings rates rather than interest rates to control inflation has received mixed reviews from those in the financial sector. Invercargill financial advisor Stephen O'Connor is happy with the compulsory savings aspect of the policy, but has reservations about using KiwiSaver contribution rates to control inflation.
The Reserve Bank at the moment has the ability to increase interest rates via the OCR. They also have the ability to buy and sell our dollar and to adjust or to restrict banks lending via loan-to-value ratios, etc. So they're getting an extra tool, which would be their ability to recommend to the government, and this is a key point as well, they can recommend to the government, but the government makes the ultimate decision to increase the contributions to what will be compulsory KiwiSaver to obviously reduce household income and reduce demand and not have to increase interest rates. Is that a good thing? I think on the face of it, it sounds okay, but there are a lot of fish hooks in that.
What sort of fish hooks?
Well, for a start, increases in the KiwiSaver rate would have to be significant compared to increases in the interest rate. You're talking about probably a 1% increase in KiwiSaver for every 0.25% increase in the OCR, which is quite a lot. Of course, the increases in KiwiSaver only impact on salary and wage earners, whereas an increase in interest rates impacts the whole the borrowing community, including businesses and local and central government. They've made a big thing that the increases in interest rates go overseas to foreign owners, where the reality is that 75% of the funding of New Zealand banks is local, so local investors that own term deposits. So increases in interest rates actually increase their income, so they would miss out on extra income. Those people are probably not contributing to KiwiSaver because they're probably past that stage if they've invested money, but not necessarily. So they could be hit doubly by not having increases in income and having to contribute more to KiwiSaver. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things that need to be thought through. It is an innovative idea and it's created a lot of debate, which I think is always worthwhile. But yeah, it's...
You mentioned that having to put these savings up 1% per 0.25 interest rate, but alternately it would come down 1% if pressure went on.
Correct. I mean, it would only be a temporary increase, but it just seems to me that if like the Reserve Bank at the moment are increasing the OCR every 2 or 3 months, if we have to be changing the KiwiSaver contributions every 2 or 3 months, then that creates a lot of work for employers for a start. We have to manage payrolls and adjust contribution rates. And it creates a lot of confusion, I think, probably to salary and wage earners not knowing what they're putting in. And yeah, I don't know whether it's just feasible in the end, but probably worth investigating.
The Southern Institute of Technology continues to grow its international student base, and the South's investment opportunities are attracting postgraduate Vietnamese students to Invercargill. In the South yesterday to attend a meeting with SIT CEO Penny Simmons and management, Mr Phong, an SIT agent based in Vietnam, explained how Vietnamese immigrants see study and investment opportunities in the South. Mr Phong has recruited 45 Vietnamese students in recent years and is now targeting postgraduate students like doctors, lawyers and bankers to study English and business enterprise at SIT. Postgraduate students see one of the benefits of studying in New Zealand is housing affordability and free schooling for their children while they reside in New Zealand. And that's all from the news desk. A post-match reaction from the Sharks' home loss on Saturday next in sport. From the news team, good night.